The United States of America did not begin with a revolution against tyranny, only to serve a foreign nation state. But the fact is, our government acts like the servant of another country. That other country is, of course, the State of Israel. That's not policy. That's a national disgrace. I'm Michael Rechtenwald, founder of the Anti-Zionist America Political Action Committee, or AZAPAC. Let's cut to the chase, shall we? The U.S. government has been hijacked by forces loyal to Israel. Does Congress represent us? No. With rare exceptions, they work for Israel. These aren't your elected reps, they're puppets. And their strings are pulled by donors loyal to the modern nation-state of Israel. This isn't an alliance, it's extortion. While we're scraping by, eggs at $6 a dozen, rent or mortgage devouring our paychecks, our leaders have funneled over $21 billion to Israel in 2 years, not counting the cost of U.S. engagements in the region at Israel's behest. The total cost to U.S. taxpayers in service of Israel is an estimated $33 billion since October 7th, 2023. That's on top of the $3.8 billion sent Israel every year. Billions that could fix our roads. Billions that could fund our schools. Billions that could house our veterans. Billions that could ease your burden. But no, they fund endless Israeli aggression instead. Israel, the largest recipient of U.S. aid in history. Israel, the country that bombed the USS Liberty. Israel, the country using our weapons to mass murder innocents. 20,000 children to be exact. Gaza ripped off the mask. We all watched the live-streamed horrors. The money extorted from us funds crimes against humanity, what genocide scholars and dozens of humanitarian organizations call a genocide. This blind allegiance, this veto on our national sovereignty, this denial of reality must end. We've had more than enough. AZAPAC isn't here to beg. We're here to evict. We're backing warriors who spit in the face of this cabal. Is your army. Head to AZAPAC.com. That's AZA-PAC.com right now. Donate, volunteer, amplify, join the fight. Because we're not pleading for our country back. We're taking it.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on this panel show are those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this channel, its affiliates, sponsors, or production team. This content is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. We encourage respectful dialogue and critical thinking around the topics discussed.
Party. Why I like the new party? Number one, it's a group of people that's on a panel. We all have differences, but we all basically still come together at the end of the day. The new party for me is about unity. The new party for me is about educating people to the truth, letting people know what's been going on in our country. With that being said, shout out to the new party, man. We're gonna keep it going with y'all.
You're muted, Nori. Welcome to the new party. I'm Nora Christine.
I'm Gray Mars.
It's Mia.
I'm Kamal. Oh, you muted, bro.
Enzo, you muted.
You're still muted. I'm skeptic.
I'm Kim. That's Enzo.
And tonight on the new party, we have a very special guest, Michael, the founder of Anti-Zionist America PAC. Michael, the chat's going crazy. I think we got some Zionists in the chat. They already going at you. So I'm going to kick it off by asking the biggest question of the night. And again, we got to put this out there. Given the growing scrutiny around political organizations and their perceived affiliations, how does AZAPAC plan to distinguish itself from groups known from anti-Semitic rhetoric or associations with movements like the Groyper movement? Additionally, can you clarify whether AZAPAC intends to collaborate or distance itself from figures or factions tied to those ideologies?
Oh, okay, great. We're going to go right at it. That's good news. So I don't like to hold back, as you can see from the video. So, I mean, listen, Zionism is a particular political ideology. It is not a race. It is not an ethnicity. It is not a people even. It is a ideology that permeates the Israeli society, of course, but also the U.S. and the world at large. And it has an immense impact and influence over those who embrace it. And that embrace is not dependent upon ethnicity or even religion, because most Zionists are actually Christians. Christian Zionism represents 80 million people in the United States. Furthermore, not all Jews are Zionists. Many are, but not all are. In fact, some of the most trenchant and strident and I think important anti-Zionists in the world are Jewish, including Norman Finkelstein, Max Blumenthal, Aaron Mate, and others. I could go on, but I can't actually, because that's as few. That's the total I remember right now. So yeah, I mean, look, this is not anti-Jewish. This is not anti-Semitic. In fact, I don't want to get into the Semitic question because it's also really a roiled question. It's quite difficult to even broach that. But this is not anti-Semitic. We are anti-Zionist. Zionism is represented in our government mostly by Gentiles, in fact. People like Ted Cruz and Tom Cotton and Lindsey Graham and Donald Trump and his entire administration. These are not Jewish people. These are Zionists, though. So I think that pretty much settles it. As far as these groups, we don't discriminate on who wants to be part of AZAPAC as a donor and so forth. But as representatives, we have a very strict core and a very strict policy. We will not be represented by anybody else. We will not be represented by Groypers. We will not be represented by even other anti-Zionist organizations, though there are very few and explicitly anti-Zionist. But we're not disaffiliating with anybody because we have supporters from across the political spectrum. We're not going to try to bar people from being donors to AZAPAC because they believe such and such. But we have a very strict core set of beliefs that we have made very clear, and that's what we will represent, and that's only what we'll represent. So that's it. I hope that answers it.
No, that was a great answer. I'm going to allow our other founder, Gray Mars, to ask the next question.
So if AZAPAC succeeds, what changes should we see in the country?
What changes should we see? We should see the United States taking care of its own people instead of funding foreign wars, sending bombs and aid to Israel and Ukraine, for that matter, and other places around the world in order to kill other people. When our country is being ravaged as we speak, I mean, we have a deteriorating infrastructure. We have inflation, which is really an effect of all the wars and other policies that the government has undertaken. So what we'd be doing is getting rid of the Zionists who are voting for this money, this complete, sucking sound, as Ross Perot put it back in the day, that we're seeing coming out of the United States into Israel. We're being extorted on a daily basis. Billions sent overseas while people are having their food stamps cut off. I mean, things like this must not continue. We want to make America for Americans. And in the process, we do a great service to the world at large, because then people are free from the ravages that are imposed on them by the Zionist entity, Israel. We actually help world peace by reclaiming our country from the Zionist infiltration.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm going to allow Mia to ask the next question.
So, so when I was, going through your website and obviously looking you up, you are a reformed leftist, but it sounds like this movement is based on taking care of Americans only versus taking care of Americans first. So would you say this is an America first, or is this an America only ideology?
Well, we really only have one policy. We're not really America only or America first. We are anti-Zionist, and that means we want to get rid of the Zionist influence, and we think that becomes beneficial for all Americans. And so personally, I am personally America only, frankly, but the idea there is not to starve other people or other countries of aid and things like that. What we mean to do is starve the military industrial beast that feeds off of Zionist ideology. Zionism, if you want to get into a little Marxism here, which I do recall quite well, Zionism is to the military industrial complex what the superstructure or ideology is to the base in Marxist terms. That is, it is the thing that helps to make the military industrial complex and its activities seem natural, seem necessary, seem inevitable, and to seem, and further, to seem as if they're on some sort of dictate from God himself, God Almighty. So there's this Christian Zionist eschatology all mixed in there. And this stuff, it's, Zionism didn't even start with Jewish people, by the way. It started with a former Anglican priest named John Darby in the 19th century, actually. And then it was picked up later by the Jewish contingent that turned it into the state of Israel. So anyway, the point was, I guess, that well, I guess that's all I had to say on that one, unless you had something further to ask.
We're going to move on to Kamal Johnson with the next question.
So who supports this? Like, what politicians is supporting this PAC?
We're not looking for the support of politicians. We're looking to support them, the ones that we selected that agree to be endorsed by us and to be funded by us. So we have 3 candidates right now, and we're expanding that palette as we go. We're looking constantly at other candidates that we'd like to support and that would accept our funding and our support. So right now we have 3, and we're always in the, we're looking for, we're crowdsourcing actually for people, because this is a very big, the congressional seats are many, and there are many candidates in these races. So we
Okay,
actually,
who are they? What's their names?
Oh, okay. Well, I think the video said it pretty clearly. We're supporting Jose Vega in New York, Aaron Baker in Florida, Mike Wilnow in Florida, and we're looking at many other candidates as we speak.
Okay, those are good questions. Thank you, Kamal. Kimberly, what's your question?
Hi, my question is more of like a devil's advocate because I align completely with everything you just said. I would add to the list of anti-Zionist Jewish advocates Medea Benjamin, Dave Smith, Katie Halper, Glenn Greenwald, Gabor Mate. I grew up in a Christian Zionist church too, so I can make the Christian case against Zionism. But my question for you is, which is a question that I get often, is why focus so much on Israel and Zionism? Why not focus on, or there's always the, but what about Ukraine? But what about Nigeria? What about Venezuela or what have you? I get that question a lot. Why focus so much on Israel and Zionism? Again, playing devil's advocate.
Sure, I understand. Thanks for the question. Thanks for the setup. That's very nice. Yeah, listen, I mean, the reason why we're focused on Zionism is because we believe that Zionists control the United States of American government. That's why we're focused on them. And we've seen many pieces of evidence to make this clear. They're at least controlling our foreign policy. When we see that Trump goes on and bombs Iran unprovoked because Israel demanded it, this tells you that our policies are being dictated somewhere else by another people. And when you see the United States, when in fact there was a hurricane and it struck North Carolina, and the North Carolinians were out of homes, were devastated. What does the United States government do under Biden but send $500 million to North Lebanon, where Israel had just bombed? So to show you that the United States acts on at Israel's behest to clean up their mess. And now we're going to probably have troops in Gaza. And you could say that the last 30 years of American military aggression has been at the behest of Israel, including the strikes on Iraq, the whole war on Iraq, probably both of them, but at least the second one for sure. Libya, the destabilization and funding of terrorists in Syria until they finally got a Zionist puppet in there. The bombing of Yemen, all at Israel's behest, and because of Israel's genocidal policies and atrocities. All of this stuff is because Israel is controlling the United States. Then they're trying to throw students out of the country for criticizing Israel. They even tried to throw a resident American out of the country, his wife an American and an American child on the way. I mean, these people control the United States. The evidence is so clear. You had 250 state congresspersons going to Israel back in September, I think it was, for a conference called 50 States, One Israel. Okay, as if the United States has been subsumed into the state of Israel, as if we're part of Israel, as if we're their munitions depot, as I put it in the video, or their ATM. The money, you could probably ascribe, I would say, at least 80% of the U.S. debt, that is the $38 trillion in debt, can be ascribed to expenses that we have doled out on the behalf and at the behest of Israel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly, for that question. Skeptic, what's your question?
So I want to start off by saying I do agree with a lot of the things that you were saying. I think that the Zionists use religion because there's a lot of atheists that are Zionists that come out and they aren't even Christian themselves, but they use the religion topic to manipulate people, kind of like people that think about things linear, and so a lot of the time I see that Christianity is used in the Zionist movement to just like use people. They themselves don't even believe this. But I think one of the things that I find complex about like the libertarian movement, or like as political, I guess people that run in the Libertarian Party, right? we understand that for as far as like the federal, for like the presidency, we tend to be a two-party system. And a lot of things that the Libertarian Party stands for, as far as ideas go, I tend to see kind of play out in the Democratic Party, like becoming more globalist and not being so imperialistic. And like the military complex to me seems to be a way that America has continued to uphold this power over other countries, or over foreign countries. Like you're saying, Israel has a hand in that. They understand that the military complex in the US has been a big part of our power structure, right? What is the biggest difference, do you think, between the Republican and like conservative and democratic movement from the Libertarian Party, or the people that you push to run for office?
Well, we're not affiliated with the Libertarian Party at AZAPAC. By the way, it's AZA, yeah, AZAPAC. Yeah, we're not affiliated with the Libertarian Party per se. My own particular political ideology leans libertarian. In fact, I'm pretty far libertarian. But that doesn't impact the policies or the positions of AZAPAC at all. The only thing that really I hold as central and fundamental to AZAPAC and my beliefs that steer AZAPAC is the non-aggression principle, which is a foundational premise of libertarian thought. And that is you have no right to aggress upon another person or their property. And that's exactly why that principle is what is in violation in Gaza and the West Bank and everywhere else that Israel bombs indiscriminately. So, as far as the libertarian, what parties we select, we don't care what party the candidate is from. We do want them to be viable. So, third parties are less viable in the United States, except at the very local level. We're not working at the local level. We're working at the level of Congress right now. That's where we want to get the biggest bang for our buck, is to get Congress people in. And I don't care what party they're from. We're not partisan at all. In fact, I think that it transcends left and right. And I think we attract, and we have attracted people from both sides of the so-called political spectrum, which I'm not a great believer in. Anyway, I think the up, down, or vertical axis is much more important. That is the people versus the ruling class, frankly. And the ruling class is Zionist.
Before Enzo asks his question, we have two super chats. W Enzo, thank you, Bad Pancake, for the super chat. And Big Tim says Israel has made many technological breakthroughs. Now I will allow Enzo to ask his question.
Perfect. Thank you for coming. First off, my question would be, so CARE isn't registered as far, and they receive gifts and direction from other countries, specifically that are adversarial to the United States, like Iran. Why should we be more concerned with Israel, considering the amount of times CARE has been listed as an unindicted co-conspirator in tons of terrorism-related cases in the United States, like the Holy Land Foundation and the Holy Land Five? So, in my opinion, I think this is more important than 1% going to Israel, when Israel gives us pretty much 10 times more back, and we give them 3.3, they give us 48 billion back. So
okay, well, I mean, those are some assertions that I can't really adjudicate right here, because I'd say that look, I don't care how much the military industrial complex gets back from Israel in their purchases of weapons using money that was stolen from me, okay, and other taxpayers. I don't care whether the Israelis are able to make technology that we can't make here. Maybe they could do it without killing 100,000 children. That's what the real number is. Maybe they could do it without stealing from us to pay for it. That's what I would say to that question. I don't really care how beneficial they are in some other respect, or whether they feed the military industrial complex or the Palantir panopticon that is being constructed. thanks to the same people, the Zionist billionaire class. So no, I'm not worried about CARE. I'm worried about. I think all foreign lobbies should be banned. Okay, all of them should be banned, but that's inclusive of Israel's foreign lobbies. APAC being the largest of those.
Wow, this was a great interview. We would love to interview your candidates. We've been bringing people on, Michael, so we can talk about that privately. Before you head out, let us know your closing thoughts and what the future plan is for AZAPAC for 2026.
Sure. I mean, AZAPAC is going to endorse and support candidates from across the political spectrum to enter into the government, to get out of this obedience and subservience to Israel and their constant funding by US taxpayers to commit crimes against humanity. We're going to have nothing of it. We're going to start putting a block of candidates in place that replace Zionists and that make a wave in Washington, D.C. When we knock Randy Fine out of the picture in Florida, it will be a momentous victory, not only a political one, but a symbolic one that'll bleed over into other races. So AZAPAC is putting forth anti-Zionist candidates to knock Zionists out of office and to reclaim the U.S. government for the American people. Thanks.
Thank you again. We got to bring you back, Michael, especially in 2026. We appreciate you coming. God bless and good night.
God bless. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, guys. There's some Zionists in the chat tonight, honey. I never seen y'all show up before. Some of y'all was first time coming.